Okay, so here we are at chapter 4. We're moving along quite nicely in this content. It's very good. So, of course, I always like to begin each lecture with some organization, get some things organized here. So, I want to remind you to submit a post for the week 4 discussion. For those that are going really well, I really enjoy reading your posts, and I like it when you respond to your classmates. It's very, very helpful for everyone when you do that. So thank you for doing that. You can upload your assignments now. You no longer have to email those to me. They can be uploaded. That's been working very, very well. It's easier for me to do the annotation when you upload it. So that's good for the annotations for the feedback on your papers. I would want to remind you all to review the APA style for formatting the following requirements. So this is some of the things that I'm seeing that are not properly formatted in the majority of the papers. So go back and review title pages, line spacing. In APA formatting, you're required to double space your lines. And remember, when you're already double spacing, when you're leaving one paragraph and beginning a new paragraph, you don't need to space again. It'll automatically double space. So you don't need to put an extra space there. So the paper will be double spaced all the way through. You don't need to add lines between paragraphs when you're already double spacing. So that's something that I see. I haven't seen you do it here, but I've seen it happen in other courses that I've taught. So just want to remind you of that. And also in-text citation. So you want to get used to doing that when you're writing research papers and as you're writing your literature review or referring to sources that you've studied in order to gather your information. So you want to get used to giving credit where what credit is due. So review in-text citation and also reference list. Now this should be a separate page. So you have your title page, you have your main content, and then your reference list is a separate page again. And that's formatted a specific way. It isn't numbered. So I've seen a couple of you do some numbering. You don't want to number in APA style formatting. It's listed alphabetically. And so as you list your resources on that reference list page, you list them in alphabetical order. Okay. Are there any questions about that? Okay. Okay, then let's go ahead and move forward. All right, so we're talking about the stages of the research process. And in chapter 4, it goes to stage 2. So we want to, so let's go back to the other slide here. Okay, so we're going to design the research. So this is where we are in chapter 4. So we'll get to that diagram in a second here. So what is research design? I wanted to go ahead and just kind of kick it off here. It says, at its most simplistic, research design is a blueprint for fulfilling research objectives. So, and then this here, a design is a time-based procedural plan for every research activity. It's always focused on the research question. That's important. Guides selection of sources of information, like cases. Provides a framework for specifying the relationships among the study's variables. So it says there, so regardless of the numerous definitions of research design, they will all have common properties. They all have common properties. So when it says it's a time-based procedural plan for every research activity, what is what could they possibly mean by that? Time-based procedural plan.
I think because the objective from the research and the results is suitable for special era. I think the data we collect and the objective it changed according the time frame we want to know to answer the question of management question or managemental dilemma. I think it's different from time to time. So I think the research is time based. If we collect or make the research for after 5 or 10 years, the result will be completely different.
Very good. Very good. Does everyone agree with that? And any other comments? I think that's
Yes, actually, I'm agree with this, but it also means that every activity should be timed. So it's not possible that, for instance, if we have 1 month research, then we need to plan timing plan for each step in order to be on time in full research. So we need to design. We need to know first of all the steps, all the procedures, and all the activities, and then timeline each of them.
very good. And Elena, so your hand's up too? Yes.
Yes, hello. I fully agree with my peers and just wanted to add that sometimes it can be that you have research based on the certain investigation and you have to collect the data for a specific time to identify and to already come up with the research answer with the results, so it can be very measured by the time.
Very good. Yes. Okay. And I know we've already covered several times that it's always focused on the research question that drives the entire research. And then guide selection of sources of information. That's true. So that's helpful, right? There's a lot of information out there, so we want to be focused on what we're gathering and make sure it's relevant. And provides framework for specifying the relationships among the study's variables. This again, so it's all tied together. I mean, it's not just something that we just randomly go out and do. There's a format to it. There's some continuity to research. It follows specific, guidelines. So very good, very good. So let's go here. All right, so here we are. This is the diagram that we just zero in on that. So design the research. So we have the data collection, sampling design, measurement questions, and we went through that with some of the assignments that we've had. So that's very good. And develop measurement instrument. So go ahead and so when you look at the chapter 4, you'll notice that what Schindler did was to make sure that we could see the tie-in for the previous and then the preceding step in that stage in that process. So we investigated the question brings us to where we are now, and then from here we'll get to collecting and preparing the data. So I thought that was helpful. Okay, so sampling design. In sampling design, the task is to identify the sources of any information you did not find during exploration. So the investigative question you develop in stage 1 are the focus of this process. So that's so who or what should be measured? How do we access or recruit that source? Okay, so anyone wants to talk about this sampling design here? So what it says, any information you did not find during exploration. So what is that? What is that talking about there? What do they mean there? Why would we even care if we didn't find it during the exploration process? Why would we want to do this?
I suppose that sampling design is about making a decision and looking for the sources and identifying the sources, how you will proceed with your further actions, the methods which we will use for investigation. The sources, exactly. Where will you take the sources and how and when?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Anyone else? Good. Good, Elena. Good. Okay. And then yes. So who or what should be measured, right? And then how do we access or recruit that source? So that's in the sampling design process. So very good. Very good. Okay, data collection design. You know, I highlight what I believe this kind of gets to the point. In research, we measure variables of interest. So because I guess there's a lot of variables, right, beyond the ones that we focus on for our research study. So during data collection design, we make numerous choices in order to accurately measure these variables and any relationship between these variables. So and then up here it says it involves a large number of decisions related to how, when, how often, and where data will be collected. Any comments or questions about that? Okay. All right, let's take a look at this one.
Once you've decided whether you're doing quantitative or qualitative research, the next step is figuring out the broad shape your research will take. In this video, I'll help you decide which type of design is right for your research. First, we'll get to grips with the two main types of quantitative design, then we'll dive into some common types of qualitative design. Quantitative designs can be split into two main categories. Descriptive and correlational designs aim to measure variables and understand relationships between them, while experimental and quasi-experimental designs are best for testing cause and effect relationships. In descriptive and correlational designs, you measure variables without influencing them. This allows you to observe characteristics, trends, and relationships as they exist in the real world. A descriptive design focuses only on systematically measuring variables, while a correlational design tests whether variables are related to each other. For example, you could use a correlational design to find out if the rise in online teaching in the past year correlates with any change in test scores. With these designs, it's hard to draw conclusions about cause and effect because other factors may influence the results. For example, the change in test scores might not be caused by classes being taught online, but by other variables such as increased stress and health issues among students and teachers. An experimental design involves manipulating an independent variable and measuring the outcome of a dependent variable while controlling other factors. For example, let's say you want to test whether a new online teaching method improves test scores. The independent variable is the teaching method, and the dependent variable is the test score. In an experimental design, you will randomly assign one group of students to be taught using the new method and another group to be taught using a standard method in order to compare their outcomes and test scores. Experiments are the strongest way to test cause and effect relationships without the risk of other variables influencing the results. However, their controlled conditions may not always always reflect how things work in real world. They're often also more difficult and expensive to implement. If it is impossible to randomly sort your subjects into groups,
Yes. Okay.
is the quasi-experimental design. This means comparing the outcomes of pre-existing groups that differ on an independent variable. For example, if one teacher in the school has already decided to implement a new teaching method, you could test whether her class outcomes differ from comparable classes that use the standard method. So those are the main types of quantitative research design. But what if you're doing qualitative research? Qualitative designs tend to be a bit less rigidly defined. This approach is about gaining a rich, detailed understanding of a specific context or phenomenon. It can often be more creative and flexible in designing your research. Two common types of qualitative design are case studies and ethnographies, both of which involve taking a deep dive into a narrowly defined subject. Case study designs involve choosing a subject like a specific organization, event, space, etc., and gathering detailed data on it. You can also do several case studies and compare them. For example, you could do a case study on a typical high school in your area, or you could choose 3 high schools with different demographic profiles and do case studies to compare their experiences of online learning. Ethnographic designs involve gathering data about the culture of a specific social group or organization by immersing yourself in and often directly participating in the community. The aim is to give a rich, full account of the beliefs, habits, and social dynamics of the chosen group. For example, you could do an ethnographic study of a particular school by joining and observing classes over several weeks or months. There are many other kinds of qualitative design, and they often look quite similar in terms of data collection, but take different approaches to interpreting and understanding the data. For example, phenomenological research aims to understand a phenomenon or event by describing participants' lived experiences. Narrative research examines how stories are told to understand how people perceive and make sense of their experiences. Grounded theory takes a more systematic approach, using qualitative data to develop new theories and hypotheses. So now you've got a good idea of the types of designs you can choose from. Next up, who exactly will your research focus on, and how will you go about selecting your participants? Check out this video.
Okay, so so what do you think about that video? Is that informative for you? It covers some things that we're going to be talking about a little bit in this lecture, but more later on as well. But and then some of that was covered in your reading for chapter 4. So what do you think about the differences between the quantitative and qualitative research? What do you think would be the most common type of research you would conduct for in a business setting? And I know that some of you have done some research and for some of you, it's more of the quantitative side because you're dealing with, I believe it was pharmaceuticals and some other types of products that would involve more of a quantitative approach, but it also involves qualitative. But if you were conducting research for, let's say, for the motion picture industry, let's say for Lucasfilms, and they wanted to do a series on interstellar travel, what kind of research do you think they would want to do in order to determine whether or not their viewers would want to see that? So let's see, we've got someone raised their hand here. Okay, so SG said qualitative research aims to explore and understand complex phenomena, experiences, and meanings from the perspective of participants. It focuses on subjective interpretations and the context in which they occur. Quantitative research seeks to measure and analyze numerical data to identify patterns, relationships, and trends. It aims to generalize findings to a larger population. So very, very good. Yep, that's very good. Is it Izgi or Isgi? How do you pronounce your name?
Hi, Professor. It's Ezgi.
Izgi. Thank you, Izgi.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Excellent response. That's very good. Okay. Anyone else? That was pretty definitive. So, okay, so let's go here. Okay, so we're too early for a break, so let's go ahead and do a poll. And I'm gonna go ahead and let's go to the right screen here. Okay. So yeah, we're making some good time here. Good. All right. Okay, so in this poll, which one of the following is not included in the stage 2 design of the research diagram? So is it A, investigative questions, B, data collection, C, development measurement instrument, or D, sampling design, or C, measurement question? So which? Well, let's see. Yeah. Okay. That's Mr. Yusuf had a response there. He says sometimes we use RCA, which is root cause analysis, which he believes would combine both qualitative and quantitative research. That's very true. I used both when I did my doctoral dissertation. Yep, very good. So, see, I want to get some more responses on the poll. Okay, good. More responses are coming in. Very good. Very good. Okay, so okay, so the majority of you are selecting A, and that's a very, very good. That's the correct answer. So let me go back to, let's go back to our presentation there. And the answer is A. So let's go back and see why everyone was saying A. So there it is. So data collection is in there, sampling design is in there, and measurement question is in there. Investigative questions is actually in stage 1. So good, very good. So the reason it might be obvious, but I do that because it can be confusing, right? Because this is very similar in semantics, but two different things. So very good. Let's go ahead and let's move forward. Okay. So let's get into dimensions of data collection design. So the dimensions and the data collection design options. So they have the objectives of the study. Okay, and then it says reporting, descriptive, causal, and researchers' ability to manipulate variables being studied, experimental, ex post facto. We're gonna get more into these. There's some more detail on some of these terms. So we'll get to those in a minute. The topical scope of the study, statistical study, case study, the measurement emphasis of research techniques, qualitative, quantitative. We just covered that. Complexity of design, single methodology, multiple methodologies. So that's, and the method of data collection, monitoring, communication study, and we'll get more into what that communication study is and why they call it that. The research environment, a field setting, so laboratory research, simulation. So that's really important, right? So, and then time dimension, cross-sectional and longitudinal. We will get into those in more detail. And the participants' research awareness, no deviations received. Yes.
Professor, sorry to interrupt, but I think you're not sharing your screen. We are still seeing the pool questions
Oh.
and
Oh, I'm so sorry.
it's no worries.
Thank you for mentioning that.
Yes, for sure.
Let's go back to that. Okay. All right. So are you seeing that now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. So it was a mystery.
Yeah.
Everyone. So okay. So here's where I was going through this table and the dimensions of data collection design. And so I was going down here talking about the different dimensions and then the data collection design options within those dimensions. So here I began by talking about the objective of the study, and then it talks about this reporting, descriptive, causal, and like I was saying, in a minute, I'm gonna bring up slides for each one of these dimensions, and it gets into a little more detail, and then we can really get into some discussions on each one of these as we go. A researcher's ability to manipulate variables being studied, so experimental, ex post facto, the topical scope of the study, statistical study, case study, the measurement emphasis of research techniques, qualitative, quantitative, we talked about that earlier. Complexity of design, single methodology, multiple methodologies, and the method of data collection, monitoring, communication study. The research environment, field setting, laboratory research simulation, the time dimension, cross-sectional and longitudinal. We kind of hinted at this a little bit. Longitudinal studies, a lot of when we get into this, we'll talk about that for a little bit. But sometimes these can go for an incredibly long period of time. You'll be very surprised how long some of these longitudinal studies can go. And then participants' research awareness, no deviations perceived, deviations perceived, researcher induced. So that's really important there too. That's so we're gonna get into that as well. So let's take a look at the first one there. The objective of the study. So this is the most important dimension of any data collection design because it influences choices in all others. Okay, so why do you think this? That's a very strong statement to make. Why is Schumer saying that? There might be a comment there, so I didn't see.
So, Professor, I think objective of the study, maybe that's very important, because if it's not clear, then probably group doesn't know exactly what we are researching on and what is our end goal. So if that's not clear in that objective of research, then it all the time, and again, I mean, it's going to get wasted if they pursue further without an objective. So that's why I believe that it's very important to clarify the objective, and then group or organization work on that objective to be able to achieve their goals.
Okay, very good. Yes, it'll be too broad, right? I mean, you're going to collect in most research studies, you collect more data than you can manage anyway or analyze. If it's too broad, then it is almost impossible to manage it. So very good, Samuel. Okay, and so it says businesses use reporting studies, but because they rely on existing data, they may not cover all the variables a researcher needs to measure. Okay, so that's really interesting, right? And then they gave an example here in a study of crime. For example, such a study might tally the number of employee thefts that take place in shopping malls versus freestanding stores. So, very good. Yes, Elena.
Yes, I just wanted to add also that the objective is very important to for the measurement and evaluation and further. Without clear objective, it's very complicated to justificate and understand the scope of your research.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very good. Thank you. That's very good. So, anyone else want to comment on this objective of the study? Okay, if something comes up, you can always mention it. We can go back to it. Okay, so very good. Yes, John.
Hello.
Yes, Jan, please.
Yes, Professor. In my experience, objective of the study is the most important part for our dissertations. I think maybe concerned with our topics, we must have maybe the most important objectives. Maybe what kind of objectives we are going to study, or maybe make research, especially based on the topics. And after that, we need to analyze part by part, chapter by chapter, and yes, categories are a lot of things based on the objectives, Professor. I think. Thank you.
Yes. No, thank you very much. Thank you. I really like it when there's a lot of participation like this. It's very, very good. Very good. Thank you. Okay, so let's take a look at this next one here. Okay, research ability to manipulate variables. With an ex post facto design, researchers have no ability to manipulate variables. Okay, instead, the researcher studies participants who have been exposed to the independent variable and those who have not been so exposed and compare the results. So they cover this a little bit in that video that we watched. Jumping down here, it says it is important that the researcher uses this design, not it's important that the researchers using this design not influence the variables. To do so would introduce bias. You're gonna hear that a lot. Some of you are conducting research, and it's sometimes it's just unavoidable, but it does happen. You want to minimize it as much as possible. Businesses use ex post facto data collection designs extensively. So why is that? Why is it that businesses use this design? And it talks about so in the bank research, it says we study savings account holders who live near to a branch and those who don't, using an ex post facto design. So again, participants who have been exposed to the independent variable and those who have not been so exposed, and compare the results. Why is it that businesses would use that design extensively? Yes, Samya.
So Professor, I think in the research ability really to manipulate variables refers toward the researcher's control over the intentional manipulation of those variables in the study, which really allows these researchers to examine cause and effect of those. I think a real-time example I'm trying to recall is from a caffeine study. So when they are trying to research the alert, that what is the caffeine effect, whether it impacts an individual alertness or not. So they designed the experiment where participants like randomly assign and into the one or two groups, and then when they receive a caffeinated beverage, they were like they examine their behavior before and after taking that caffeine, and then really that independent variable from each group help the researchers to come out on a conclusion and measure and observe the results, exactly how that caffeine is actually impacting each group.
Okay, yes, very good. Thank you for sharing that. That's very good. So here, this is it is important that researchers using this design not influence the variables. To do so would introduce bias, and that's that would be very tempting, right? If you're an organization and you're producing a product and you're trying to determine how well this product is received by your customers, you also have your stakeholders who are usually your investors and the board of directors. These are people who have invested their money in your product, and so you want to have it's the temptation is to make the results look more in your favor, right? It's just because the bottom line is to have those customers like that product, but to do so would really yield invalid results. So very, very good. So yep. And so businesses, that would be one reason why they would use the ex post facto data collection designs extensively, because it eliminates that temptation to be biased about the results. So sometimes the results are not going to be in your favor, and that's an opportunity for the business to change the way they're doing things. And we see that a lot, right? And sometimes you see businesses that are reluctant to make those changes, and we talk about them in the past tense because they are no more. They've gone the way of the dinosaur, if you will. They're extinct now because they couldn't stay relevant. So very good. Okay, good. Let's go to the next one here. Okay, the topical scope. So there's a lot here. Statistical studies attempt to capture population's characteristics by making inferences from a sample's characteristics. They are designed for the breadth rather than depth, extracting the same data from multiple cases. Okay, so good. Generalizations about findings are presented based on the representativeness of the sample and the validity of the design. So that's important. Case studies place more emphasis on a full contextual analysis of one or a few events or conditions and their interrelationships. An emphasis on contextual detail provides valuable insight for problem solving, evaluation, and strategic or tactical change. And then I jump down here. Businesses often use case studies. So a lot of times, you can jump to what they want to get to and bypass a lot of the rhetoric. But so the topical scope is that so does this doing anything for you? Do these details give you any more understanding of what they're meaning by this topical scope? Someone help me out here. Let me know how is that.
What's the question again, Professor? Sorry.
So what is so looking at what they have given us here, how would you define the topical scope? What does this mean here?
So I think in general, when we are saying the topical scope and then combining both statistical and case studies in that is which basically we're saying it's basically covering the wide range of fields and disciplines. Whereas in statistical is we are more towards collection and analysis of qualitative data and really going into those investigating into techniques and relationship patterns of that data, whereas I think the case studies is more towards the in-depth examination of that specific individual group or organization or any phenomenon we are following. So I think that's why businesses often go towards case studies, as your slide says, because they want to really go into in-depth research and examination of a particular objective and their goals to, and then find their results in within that area of their objective, rather than really going towards the stretching subject that they cover everything. So their goal is to really specifically cover their objective and really do the in-depth examination towards that.
Okay, that's excellent. Very good. Very good. Thank you. Anyone else want to add to that? Okay, so yes, so a lot of times you see these, this topical scope, and other terms like that, and then here you may be trying to find where it says, okay, the semantics would you normally say so the topical scope is, but it doesn't say that here, and I wanted to make sure that when you're reading this, you're able to define how this correlates to what they're saying here, or the relevance and the connection between these things. So very good, very good. Is someone else trying to make a comment? I hear
Hello, Professor. I think topical scope is a bit. We usually think about scope is a fee, Professor. Maybe, for example, based on the topics. Concerning with the topics, we usually think of maybe, for example, what kind of research we are going to, for example, management, or maybe the financial, or maybe the development, economic development. And so, based on that topics, we have a scope. Maybe, for example, that is the general. I think. For example, economic development, what kind of maybe countries we are going to study about? Maybe, for example, company or countries or any scope we can. For example, how many countries you are going to make a research based on the data? Maybe how many years, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year? Maybe how many questions you are going to make? Maybe case study or strategic studies we need to think about is maybe questions also need to think of which question we are going to, which fee. Usually is we have to make for dissertation PhD, we need 900 at least. We need to make a research, survey questions, answers. We need to collect the data, 900, or maybe the over, if we can. At least for the countries, at least we should make at least 3 or more than over. We can. So based on the topics, we can enlarge our case study, or maybe the statistical point of view. Based on the statistic, we can and calculate our research. We can go our findings, Professor. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, yes, very good. And then Samia also added statistical studies involve the collection, analysis, interpretation, and presentation of quantitative data. These studies utilize statistical techniques to investigate relationships, patterns, and trends in data. Yes, whereas case studies involve an in-depth examination of a specific individual, group, event, organization, or phenomenon. These studies provide rich qualitative data and insights into complex real-life situations. This is exactly what Mr. Chan was saying. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Samia. And so, yeah, yes, very good. So, in when looking at some of these things, you can focus on like what the meaning of each one of these words is. So in the scope, it's this what is going to be the focus of what you want to accomplish. So if I'll give you an example using just the word scope in general. So I work in an engineering group. I've done so for, well, decades, and often we'll do projects, but we'll zero in because I'm more focused on what type of equipment we're going to need for that project. I zero in on the scope of work, and so in that scope, it tells me what they want to accomplish, and so that makes it easier for me to bring in to focus on the specific type of equipment that they're going to need, and tools that would be needed to do that. So good. So yeah, very good. Thank you, Samyan. Thank you, Chan, for that input. So that's good. So let's see. And another. Okay, we're 10 minutes away from our first break. So let's cover some more here. This measurement instruments. Okay, so business researchers use both qualitative and quantitative research, sometimes in the same study. We talked about that. Qualitative research use interpretive techniques to describe, decide, translate, and otherwise come to terms with the meaning of certain phenomena. That Sammy actually gave us a great summary of this in her chat comments. Qualitative research is dependent on the researcher for its rigor. So now that's interesting. I want to come back to that. Qualitative research is interested in the quantity, frequency, or magnitude of a phenomenon. Again, Samia outlined that for us. It is the basis of a statistical study. Quantitative research is dependent on the quality of the measurement instruments used for observation, surveys, and experimental tests. So qualitative research is dependent on the researcher for its rigor, and here quantitative research is dependent on the quality of the measurement instruments used for observation, surveys, and experimental tests. So there is actually a tool of that. There's a few of them that they use to measure the effectiveness of surveys. So I should have gathered that information here, but I didn't. It was developed by the University of Florida, in fact. So let's go back to this one here. Why is it that qualitative research is dependent on the researcher for his rigor? But I mean, so what does it mean by? So when I say rigor, is everyone clear on what that means? Anyone want to share with the class what they mean by rigor? When you see rigor, you'll see that a lot in academia, and when they're talking about content in academics and especially in research studies, they use this term rigor. So what do they mean by that? What is this implying? Yes, Samia.
Professor, rigor, I think, is really towards the researchers. It refers to the thoroughness and accuracy and integrity in the research process. So, which basically really go towards that how we are basically doing our research thoroughly and really being accurate, and also really maintaining the high standards of data collection in that process, analyzing the validity and really getting those data sets from the reliable sources. That is also very important. So I think rigor, if we are only looking for the definition, so I think it's just towards that thoroughness, accuracy, and integrity of the research process.
Okay, very good. And Rodas also wanted to offer that. Rodas says they think it means the depth of the research to how far the researcher is willing to study. So very good. I think that ties into what Samia is saying as well. So very good. Yes. So it implies effort, and so very good. That's very good. I like that. And so quantitative research is dependent on the quality of the measurement instruments used for observation. So yeah, I guess one is only as good as the tools that they're using. All right. So what might be a good example of that? So when it talks about surveys here, how would a survey perhaps not yield the best results? What could be wrong with a survey to make that be a possible outcome? So let's see. I think we have some. Okay, and as Izzy says, in qualitative research, the rigor depends on the researcher's ability to maintain transparency, manage biases, and demonstrate a systematic and well-documented approach to data collection, analysis, and interpretation. Very good. That's very good. Thank you. Thank you, Izzy. Very good. Okay. All right. So Okay. Anyone want to tackle this one on quantitative research and how it depends on the quality of the measurement instruments? Anyone want to provide an example of that? Okay, so let's say they had a survey and they wanted to determine why certain students are doing well in a quantitative analysis course, and why some are not, and they have the same content. Let's say it's an online course, it's asynchronous, and but some students are not doing as well, and they want to determine this by survey instead of doing so they want to use a survey tool to get to the root of this. How would this survey perhaps not be a good instrument in this particular scenario? And we're almost 3 minutes before our break. So if you wanted to think about it and then come back after the break, that's fine too. But if you have a comment that you want to make on that, that's also okay. I'll give you, and it's going to have to do with how the questions are formed or formatted in the survey. So what would be some of the things that you think they might ask in that survey, and what types of questions might they ask that really wouldn't yield any results? There wouldn't be any connection or correlation just by the way the question is designed. So yeah, so think about that. It happens more often than you might think, even with some organizations who pay for these types of surveys to be conducted. You'll look at it and you'll realize, well, that's not going to yield the desired results just by the way they worded that question. And sometimes this is a way to intentionally insert bias because they want to get a specific outcome. And this happens going above and beyond the example of that quantitative analysis course. It happens quite often in politics. So let's go ahead and let's break for I'm sorry, yes, Samir.
So coming out of break, the question you asked is basically that in a research, we want to know why some students are doing great and some are not, right? And what kind of survey questions would be helpful to really get those facts out. Why is that happening? Correct.
Correct. And then the inverse of that as well.
Sure. Sure. Definitely.
Very good. Very good. I'll see you in 10 minutes. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're back. Let's get back to that. All right. So I'm gonna begin by reading what Izzy shared with us in the chat there, and you can go to the chat and you can see what I'm reading there. It says, to yield the best results, a survey should have well-designed questions, a representative sample, clear instructions, an appropriate response format, and a sufficient response rate. However, potential issues that can affect survey outcomes like biased wording, leading questions, and inadequate sample size. So, okay, so those are some of the things that could affect it. So very good. Thank you for sharing that, Iski. So, okay, so let's open it up. Do you agree with Iski's comments? Who wants to add something more to that? And our example was that quantitative analysis course, and they're trying to determine why some students are getting very good results while others are not doing as well in this course. And so what types of survey questions would be more relevant and might yield some of the give some of the information and provide some useful data, and what might be an example of a survey question that would not. So, and as I was saying before we went, as you're thinking about that, oh yes, Mr. Mohammed Yusuf, yes.
Good morning, Professor. Good morning, everyone. So I think in order to understand why some students are performing well and some students are not, we need to include some geographical questions. So we need to understand what grades they are in, so what areas they live in. I think also we need to consider having some information about socio-geographic, so income of like their parents. We need to understand which method they are using to receive their learning. So are they online? Are they attending classes? We need to give them open-ended questions so we can gather more information from the students. We can give them multiple choice questions as well, to gather as much information as we can so we can end up with the accurate results. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. So, and we have some more comments here. Again, I wanted to just say that. So, I mentioned that it would be an asynchronous, an online asynchronous format. So some of the things that Mr. Yusuf mentioned that would be relative are very good, because socioeconomic status of the students would definitely impact the quality of their internet connections, the quality of the type of machine that they're using, and this could impact how well they're receiving the information when they log into this courses. So that's very, very good. So Rodas says it can be due to three main reasons. One, the content being delivered to the students. The students are not equally benefiting from the class. The other factors that are outside of the control of the school or the students. Yep. When we dive deep to the first question or point, we can again have three factors under it. The teachers are not qualified enough. Yes, this is very true. And the materials being used to teach the students isn't adequate. Yes. The evaluation criteria they are using isn't fair towards everyone. That's gets into some of the equity initiatives that you're seeing. So very, very good, very good. There's so many variables to think about, and then let's when we dive deep into the second question or point, we again have two major questions. The students are not interested in the courses being provided. Yep. They are not putting the same effort as the ones that are doing good. So yeah, very good. So these are all factors that we should think about in So I think that Mr. Yusuf's point that we should be asking open-ended questions is very, very important, because we just don't want them to get a one answer, yes, no. That's not very helpful. And then it would, Iski, I mean, Rhoda, how do you think we would, on your third point there, how would we word a question like, the students are not interested in the courses being provided? How would we word a survey question to get that information out of a student without just getting a yes or no response, or anyone could respond to this. So how would you word that? We want to ask.
So I can speak, right? So I wasn't
Yes.
able to speak, that's why I wrote. So we can ask questions like, what are you interested in? For example, what courses are you interested in? Or you could, maybe people don't know, maybe students don't know what they're interested in. So you could ask or test their strengths and what they enjoy, and stuffs like that. I think that would get us some list of one person's interest or one person's qualities and work on that.
Okay, very good, very good. And let's say if it was a required course and they didn't have an option to choose between courses, then we can drill it down even deeper and say what is there about this specific topic, this subject that would interest you most, and then maybe give students an opportunity to give some feedback on what might interest them the most about a quantitative analysis course, if it was a required course and they had to take it. So that's very good. Thank you, Rhodas. That's very good feedback. And Mr. Yusuf, thank you. Yes, that's open-ended questions.
Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome. Okay, I'd like to hear from some more of you. I think this is really good. I think someone else put something in the. Okay. Okay. Well, as you think about that, we'll go to the next slide. We can come back to this as well, where you want to. This is very important. So very good participation today. So let's go ahead and share my screen. Get back to the presentation. Okay, am I sharing my screen again? Let's make sure everyone is seeing that. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's on the same slide.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I wanted to advance from there. Thank you. I know there was a couple of individuals said that they could not see my screen or they couldn't see the video. So I just want to make sure that everyone says. Okay, and then Samya says that she feels like a lot of that to me it's more like the results and not questions, which is second stage of analysis. Yeah, so that's why I was trying to get Rhodas to drill down to what specific questions would derive from those bullet points. That's very good. So how frequently do you attend classes and complete assignments? Yep. How motivated do you feel to learn and succeed academically? do you actively participate in class discussions and ask questions? You know, and it's really, you know, those are very good. Those are very good questions because especially for that, for the students. So let's say these are secondary um, school age students. I think they would be very honest and they don't have as many filters, right? And this they don't have as many inhibitions and reservations about being candid and honest in their responses. They tend to really let you know how they feel most of the time. They do. So very good. How motivated do you feel to learn and succeed academically? That's a excellent question. It can get down to the root of some other issues as well. So you always hear one of the things in in another area that I do currently is e-learning development and instructional design, and you'll always hear the term engagement. You know, how do you engage students? And it's a real concern because once you lose their focus and their interest, then I mean the rest of the content you may as well just toss it out because it's not going to come across. They're not going to comprehend what you're saying because you've lost them from the beginning or at some point within the course content. So very good. That's excellent. Thank you, Sonia, for defining that. That's very good. And Elena, here are her questions. She says, "What are your goals and aspirations for this academic year?" That's a very good one. Again, I believe secondary age students the secondary school age students would be very honest about that. And in fact, they will be enthusiastic about talking about what their goals are and aspirations. What subjects or topics do you find most interesting and why? So that's very important when designing curriculum. A lot of times, what educators will do is they want to stick with the formula that they feel has worked for 150 years, but it doesn't work that well anymore. Students nowadays apply a lot of critical thinking to what they are being taught. They don't take it at face value. They question a lot of what the instructor is teaching. So you have to get to where their interests lie, and that's very good. Now, how do you approach studying or preparing for exams? Very good. That's right, because that's going to impact how well they are comprehending and retaining and able to demonstrate their learning when they're doing those summative assessments or those final exams. So very good. And then the last one is, are there any specific challenges or difficulties you face in your studies? So that's really important because we as educators, we could just take a lot for granted and just assume that they are everyone's on equal plane, right? But as Mr. Yusuf says, you have to take into consideration demographics. So that very good. That's and that one would definitely help us to look at what inequities might exist for some students. So that's very good. Thank you, Elena. Thank you, Samia. Thank you so much, Rodas and Mr. Yusuf. This is very good. Excellent feedback. So.
Sorry, Professor, I just have one more point to add
Yes.
here. So I remember like during COVID, when they while transitioning from in class to online, So the CBE, which is Calgary Board of Education, had a very important survey. So they called parents and they asked like some specific questions. Okay.
Mhm.
So number one, do you have internet at home? Okay.
Mhm.
Number two, how many students from K1 to K12 you have? Number three, how many devices you have at home?
Mhm.
And as a result of this survey, they offered some families discounted rates for the internet in
Mhm.
cooperation with some major service providers here in the city.
Mhm. Oh.
Number two, they offered loan laptops for the students.
Mhm.
So if you don't have enough devices at home, they will provide a loan laptop for your kid to be able to attend classes online, considering that all students will be attending at the same time.
Mhm.
I think number three, they offered some training for the students. So the first class will be teachers uh, 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 giving some training for the especially young kids, how to operate the device, how to log in the classes without their parent assistance, which was like very, very important survey. So they understand the limitations of some families in terms of technology, in terms of internet, and what action they have to take to make sure they give the same opportunity for everyone to be able to perform in their classes. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. That's excellent. And which city is it that you reside in?
I'm in Calgary, Alberta, in Canada.
Okay, very good. You know, this is very similar stories throughout the world. I'll give you an example. I was teaching for a college. It was an online course, and it was synchronous and asynchronous. And so I noticed that a lot of my students, when they were required to, it was a speech communications course, and I had to be able to see them to be able to determine whether or not they were actually the ones given the speech. A lot of them would log in from their cars, their vehicles. And this is because they lived in a situation where they didn't have a dedicated room in their home where they can just, log in. So I had to be careful not to assume that all of my students were capable of finding a quiet area where they could log in. That was a mistaken, a mistake to assume that. So that was a great lesson for me to learn and to observe that yeah, there are some inequities that exist when you're teaching online courses and face-to-face courses, live and in-person courses. It just, everyone is unique. Everyone has unique circumstances, and your circumstances change. You might have a student who, at the very beginning of the course, was doing very well. Everything is going great, and all of a sudden, there's some serious things going on at home. Someone has a serious health issue. Maybe there's a change. They've moved, or income. So the social economic status has changed. So these things, like life is fluid, right? The things just happen. We had students. I also had students who were in a storm area, and where a storm had blown through, and I did notice that I hadn't heard from them in a couple of days. Well, they were without a home. They lost their home in a hurricane, and so yeah, they had to find another resource, excuse me, to be able to log into those to the course. So again, it looks like we have some more comments down here. Okay. Okay, Mr. Hussein says, could you provide privacy for each kid to avoid noise from attending in the same time? Yeah. And then here's Sonia says, there was a, in response to Mr. Hussein, says there was a research study that investigates the effects of different study environments on academic performance. The researcher wants to determine if studying in a quiet environment versus a noisy environment affects student test scores. Very good. I was teaching a course where I was asking the students, they had to respond to a question of different methods of studying, and they had to view a video on how to avoid this last minute cramming, because we all wait until the last minute. It's just human nature. We do it. You give us a timeline, and most of us will invariably wait until that just before the deadline to do it. We procrastinate. We tend to do that. And so the purpose of the video that the students were watching was to demonstrate to them how they would have better learning outcomes. But I had one student who insisted that they had their best results when they were under extreme pressure to learn and to retain the content. And so they were going to continue to do that last minute cramming for the exam. So I thought that was interesting, but they felt that was what worked best for them. Let's see, I think we may have, okay, good. And Mr. Hussein agrees with you, Samia. So very good. Okay, good. Okay, so let's see here. I think I might have a video coming up here. Oh, I do. Oh, this. Speak up if you don't hear.
How does emotion measurement work? Emotion measurement is the neuromarketing technology that allows you to capture all respondents' reactions via facial coding. It helps you output average results at each particular viewing time. It's simple. You only need a webcam. The system detects 7 basic emotions: delight, surprise, skepticism, sadness, fear, disgust, and negativity or denial. With emotion measurement, you can easily test any video materials, ad performance, website performance, analyzing user experience and interface impact, mobile websites, and apps. Let's go through this short step-by-step guide on how to conduct an emotion measurement study using PoolTool. First, create a new project in your account. At the setup stage, choose the way you are going to conduct the study, online or in the lab. By choosing an online project, you get access to over 50 million respondents via panels built into the PoolTool platform. If you're going to conduct emotion measurement together with eye tracking using an external eye tracker, lab-based research will suit you best. We will choose online for our demo. Then create the core of your study, your questionnaire. There are close to 20 types of popular research questions and neuro tests, the kind of neuromarketing questions where you can upload materials and apply tools like facial coding and eye tracking. Add questions that will suit your purposes best. Instructions, a single answer with radio buttons or drop down, multiple answers, open-ended questions or a form, smile rating or star rating, etc. Simply edit the text of your questions and go to the neuro part of your study. Select the type of material you'll test: an image in PNG format, product shelves for several images, video, or an implicit test. Let's choose image, for example. Enable the tool you're going to use in this case and upload your image. Step 2, collecting responses. First, you'll select the method of collecting responses. Using an online panel built into the Cool Tool platform, this will work for online projects. Using a link published somewhere on a website, posted on social networks, or sent by email, by distributing your survey to a third-party panel provider or your own panel of respondents, or by conducting a good old-fashioned interview-assisted survey on a PC or by phone. Select the topic of your project. For example, your research topic is information technology. Then add the data collector. Identify the needed sample size, then estimate the interview length. On average, it takes 7.5 seconds to answer an online survey question. Select the country of respondents, location, region, age, and gender. Specify webcam availability. Emotion measurement projects require a webcam. Recalculate your project estimation and learn how much completing the project will cost. Step 3, analyzing your results. Here we go. The report generates automatically and appears on your dashboard. You can also see all records here. In this section, you'll see the number and quality of records from your respondents. Let's choose the Reports section. You can create as many reports as you wish and filter data however you'd like. First, set the background for the cover of your report and give the report a name. Each slide includes different statistics and visualizations. For example, video with an emotions timeline to see the moment of strongest emotions, and smile rating to track emotions by the second. Here we see that the dominant emotion was delight, except the neutral emotion, that is the ordinary face state. That's a good result. Areas of interest are spots on the tested image you can select in order to get detailed statistics, particularly on this area. Your logo, brand name, slogan, etc. may serve as areas of interest. Easily specify such areas right on a picture in order to track statistics in a report. Add as many areas as you need. The emotion statistics participants count will show you how many people experienced a particular emotion while looking at the AOI. Here you can see the whole spectrum of emotions by all created areas of interest. In this case, option 7 is the area we've created last. You can rename it anytime, by the way. That's all there is to it when it comes to conducting emotion measurement projects. Download the report in any suitable format for sharing if needed and enjoy the results. Deep insights, right actions. Request your demo at cooltool.com.
Okay, so let's see. I think we got some more comments here. Okay, so yes, Sonia, we can look at that portal content. Yep. Good. I'll make sure I leave some time for you, Sonia. Then we can discuss that. Okay, so did that look familiar? Facial coding. That's yeah. I know a few of you have already started on the week 4 discussion. So let me ask you this. So with a product like that, what are some of the pros and cons of an organization using that type of product to conduct their research, this facial coding. What do you see as some pros and cons of that specific product, if you will? For example, do you think it will always work? And if not, why? What are some reasons why that might not work? One of the things that I thought about when I was looking at this is that if respondents are distracted by anything that's within their environment, they could have a pet, that's down by their feet. It could change the expression and therefore the facial recognition would the expression of the facial coding would not be valid. It was because they're not really reacting to what they're seeing on the screen, but instead they're reacting to something that they've heard or something that has gone on within their environment. Also, there are actual medical conditions where people their facial expressions are the muscles in their faces don't work the way the majority of people's facial muscles work, and so that could also affect it. Bell's palsy, um, um, or some other thing. Also, what do you think about the ethical nature of such a tool? What of such a measurement instrument? What are some of the ethical dilemmas in using something like this? Yes, Samya.
So, Professor, definitely this is something out of my industry, but because we don't really capture individuals, their faces, like that's really not in our IT industry. We are very careful of doing so because, and then when it comes to the context of ethical consideration, it's basically that it's really involving the video facial recording of that individual, right? And that is really against the privacy policy that we are capturing this individual and all their impressions. I mean, that goes against the privacy policy, and then really it could be a potential emotional distress also that so I mean, I'm like thinking that what kind of industry would be having such kind of such kind of coding associated with their products, but definitely not I have not seen in IT industry that we are doing anything such where we are actually capturing individuals and their impressions.
Very good. Yes. Yep. Yes. And then the discussion 4, the case study, it actually involves a specific company that is doing that type of study. But I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, that's I can see a lot of problems with that. So they, this company, this cool tool product, they developed this because they see that there's a need or a trend to going more to this type of survey, if you will, this facial coding kind of survey. Um, let's see, I think there might be some more comments here, but thinking about that, yes, Mohammed Yusuf says privacy concerns. Yep, he agrees with Samia was saying. Yep, definitely privacy. You know, a lot of people think, as soon as someone asks you to turn on your computer camera, and the proverbial red flag goes up, right? You're thinking, okay, there's something fishy going on here. Yes, Samuel.
Yeah, no, again, even for the recording, right? I mean, suppose they're in an organization, we are having a recording. So for us, really the norm is if somebody is saying, okay, I'm going to record now. So we all turn off our cameras because nobody wants to be on that recording, right? And because you don't know exactly where this recording is going to reach again, whether it will be posted on YouTube or in somewhere else. So nobody want to be really on the camera in such a scenario. So that's where I think it's like that's good that they want to build that product and get the surveys exactly how it's working. But you're right, Professor, that in some scenarios where people are having any physical challenge or they have anybody else sitting next to them, it's actually capturing their impressions as well. So not sure how successful it will be.
Yeah, very good. Yep. Good. And then we have another comment in the chat. Mr. Muhammad Hussein says, I think the initial emotion before starting the test affects the results. Oh, that's interesting. The initial emotion. So did you want to elaborate on that, Mr. Hussein? I believe what I understand what you're saying, but I would allow you to go ahead and elaborate on that. What you're meaning by that?
Yes, I think this the initial emotion before starting this tracking system for emotion or facial coding. I think it affects the result. If I have like family issue, I feel sadness before starting the video or watching or expose myself to this test. I think it will affect my reaction and give a misleading for this because I think it depends on, as I saw the picture in the book, it depends on some point in the face which represent the facial expression. These points, I think it's affected by initial emotion if before starting this.
Yeah, very good. So something that's impacting you within your immediate environment, and it could be difficult to mask those emotions, yeah, for the purpose of that. That's very good. Yes, absolutely. You know, they talked about being able to do this online, and then they said in actual in-person environments as well. So let's go over here. Mr. Youssef says in some online exams, they use facial emotions to determine if the student starts cheating or using external resources during the exam. That's right. Yes, they do. So they use eye tracking, right? So Windsor University has proctored exams, and this is my first time teaching here, so I assumed that when they say that your finals are proctored exams, since this is an online environment, I assume that they would be using something very similar to that. Yeah, I've taken exams when I was applying for a job where they it was like, yeah, if your eyes, if you went over here or over there and up here or too far down there, you disengaged the AI that was tracking your face and where your eyes are focused. And so yeah, that's a very good point, excellent point. Yes. All right. Let's go on to the next slide. I want to make sure I leave at least 5 or 6 minutes to address some of Samia's concerns on the portal. So let's go to this next slide here. And you know, we don't get through all of the chapter content when we're doing this. So we talked about that before. That's why it's so important to make sure that you're reading the required reading assignments and you're getting that content. So let's spend a few minutes on this, and then I will start looking at some of the concerns on the portal. Complexity of design. So a single methodology design would employ only one method, a survey, for example. However, business research is often complex, including more than one data collection methodology. So a multiple methodology design might include an array of methods. For example, a series of personal interviews, followed by a series of focus groups, followed by a survey. So these focus groups, that's something that we haven't talked about yet here. Focus groups. So that's the type of approach that a lot of organizations that are doing what they consider to be independent research for corporations, products, and some political arenas as well. They use these focused groups. So let me go here. Someone has a comment. Let me sure capturing that. Okay. Okay, well, it says in airports too, cameras everywhere. Yes. Now the camera, Sammy says the camera doesn't really get, oh, good. The camera doesn't really get concerned with your impressions. Right. Good. Okay, so what's the importance of these focus groups? And because someone just give us an example of how a focused group would be used, so that's I think that's an interesting one, and they are used quite often. And a lot of times they'll even say in their advertisement that the results are based on a focused group. So they, yeah, they consider that to be a badge of honor to have conducted these focus groups. One of the things that you'll see a lot, I'll see, I think somebody else has a comment in here. Okay, Mr. Mohammed Hussein says, complexity depends also on sample size and budget and time allowed to collect data. Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We'll always come back to that, especially since this is a focus of this course is how this is conducted in business and right, and we go back to the management dilemmas. So very good. Okay. Good. Okay. So let's go ahead and make sure you go through and you're reviewing the method of data collection, research environment. We kind of hinted on that. Very good. And time dimension. So really go back and look at this longitudinal study. Here's one that's 60 to 65 years. So some of them go quite a long time on these studies. Participants research awareness, make sure you're reviewing that as well. So let's go to, and we want to look at the tool. So here, so is everyone seeing the screen? I hope it's on the right one. Let me make sure.
No, Professor,
No,
I cannot see the screen.
Okay, let me go to the right one here. I want to focus on the portal, and I assume you were referring to Moodle. This is correct, Samia?
That's correct, Professor. So I think we already completed the chapter 3 assignment, right? But I'm still seeing that in my dashboard, it's asking me to submit that again. So
Okay, so did you upload it?
So my thought, what I was thinking, since you sent that email, and in that email you asked us to complete the assignment and send it back to you, and we did that. Do we
Yes.
also need to upload the chapter 3 assignment on the portal?
Well, only if you want to stop seeing that notification. So
Okay.
I can and also if you also want to see my annotations, it just looks better. So what I did was I removed my original content. So anything that actually looks like this has come from McGraw-Hill. If you click on this, it's going to try to take you to McGraw-Hill.
Right.
And then, but here, when you click on it, let me go to the student view here. Change my profile to the switch roles. I'm going to go to the student. It doesn't want to do anything. Okay, here we go. So we go to the student view. And then let's go back down here again to 3. Okay, so okay. So this is what you're seeing, right? Add submission?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so all this really saying is that you can upload your assignment. If you emailed it to me, I can grade it, and then what I do, and I'll go back to
No,
my
yeah, that's fine, Professor. I think then I can upload the same assignment
Okay.
here again.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
that will be useful for you also to be able to track correctly. Sure,
Sure.
I'll do that.
Absolutely.
Another question which is coming in my mind, since you shared that deck with us, but we don't see that deck in the portal anywhere. So I mean, if we can go back and look at that again, we don't see it there. So if it would be helpful if we have that in the portal.
Okay, I'll start uploading. I'll begin with my first one. I'll just start adding those decks, and I'll drop those in there this weekend. Okay.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Okay, and then for so what I create those lectures because the textbook has decks that they created for the course, but they're they're just not. I don't think that they're very good. They just kind of repeat what's in the chapters. I like to go a little above and beyond that. So I'm going to go ahead and upload my decks in there. So
Yeah,
very
right.
good.
Correct. Your deck is like presentation is very specific towards that topic. So definitely that'll be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Yes, Mr. Yusuf.
I just have a quick question. Is there any way to order physical book, like physical copy of the book, maybe online? Because I really enjoy like using a physical book. I
Oh,
don't
yes,
really enjoy
absolutely.
the PDF. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send an email out and I'll provide the link on how to order that book. Okay.
Thank you so much. One more thing, I sent you a message like via WhatsApp. If you please can look at it. Thank you.
No, absolutely. I will respond to that after the meeting, after this lecture.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Oh, you're very welcome. And then we here. Okay, good. Well, any more questions on the portal? Yes, Mr. Yusuf.
Is it me or someone?
Oh, I thought some Mr. Yusuf had his hand. Okay, go ahead, Samyang, please.
No, I'm good. I'm good, Professor. Thank you so much for really providing that information on, and then I look forward to see the deck there on the portal. Thank you.
Absolutely, I will do that. And so just for your information, I create these the night before the lecture. So what I'll do from here on, when I have that final deck created, I'll load it before the lecture. so you'll have that as well. So especially in cases where a few of you couldn't see the presentation, it'll have the videos. The video links are there as well.
Sure.
Okay,
Thank you.
so oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Great, great.
Okay, Professor, can I have a turn?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking on the chapter 4 assignments. When is the
Yes.
due date?
Yes. And when is the due date on the chapter
Yep.
4? Right after? Yep. Let's go ahead and click on that. Let me go ahead and.
I'm sorry, I don't know. My it's not showing in my portal. So
Oh, okay.
I think it's 19, Judilyn.
Yeah, it should say it right on the very big top of that. So let me. Yeah,
so
right
it's
here.
in
Do you see it now? Can you see the Julian?
Oh,
Can you see
okay.
that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, Monday the 19th. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Mhm.
Thank you so much for answering my question the last few days ago.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that, for the benefit of you and for all of your classmates is, if you are not, pleased with the feedback that you're seeing, um, by all means, please reach out to me, and I will allow you to revise your content and resubmit it. Okay, that's something that I just believe is very productive for everyone. I think it's going to help you, and it helps me to be able to see how well you're receiving the feedback. So you might get feedback and decide that you're pleased with your grade. That's fine too. But if you want to revise that content and resubmit it, that is perfectly okay with me. I do allow that. So anyway, we're past our time. And great participation, just excellent input. I really enjoy listening to your comments and learning a lot about how you perceive these different concepts, and I look forward to reading your discussion posts on that facial coding, because based on this lecture, I'm sure there's going to be some very interesting feedback there. So have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Please remember to review some of that APA style formatting, and I will see you next week. And of course, always just reach out to me on WhatsApp.
Yes. Thank you, Professor. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
You're-
Bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye, everyone.
Professor,
Yes.
it's Selena. Can I raise a question, please? I just seen your feedback on the model for my chapter 3. Thank you very much.
Yes.
The question is, I didn't get the response, the issue about the formatting in apostyle or to the content as well.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying you want to revise it,
Yes.
or what do you? Okay. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes, and the question is, I have to revise it according to the APA format, or something was misunderstood by me according to the content, because I just didn't understand clearly, especially that.
Yes. Yeah, I weren't the only ones who did that. I need to be careful of how it's all in the semantics, and I will be very careful about how I word that going forward. So, yes, that's correct, Elena. It was,
Okay.
yeah, it was very definitive, your response, but it didn't address the instructions of the assignment. So, but
Okay.
You're
Okay,
very welcome.
because thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I
Thank
look
you.
forward to. You're welcome. All right, everyone. Take care, and reach out to me on WhatsApp if you have any more questions. Anyone. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Goodbye.
You're welcome. Bye bye.